Alright folks, so I'm going to try to do this again. My original recording got corrupted somehow. I had to delete the video from YouTube, but here we go. I'm going to try this again. Event 201. I got this, Angie sent me a link from another video about this, and I was not aware of this. Maybe you're not either, but you got to hear this. It's a very important report about the Event 201 exercise. Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic scenario-based facilitated discussions confronting difficult true-to-life dilemmas associated with the response to hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. 15 global business, government, and public health leaders were players in the simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now and in the future. Goes on to say the exercise consisted of pre-recorded news broadcasts, live staff briefings, and moderated discussions on specific topics. These issues were carefully designed in a compelling narrative that educated the participants and the audience. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, World Economic Forum, and guess what? Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation jointly proposed these recommendations. Wow. It flaws me. How are Bill and Melinda Gates qualified to propose recommendations? It's beyond me. Anyway, purpose. In recent years, the world has seen a growing number of epidemic events amounting to approximately 200 events annually. These events are increasing, and they are disruptive to health, economies, and society. Managing these events already strains global capacity, even absent a pandemic threat. Experts agree that it is only a matter of time before one of these epidemics becomes global, a pandemic with potentially catastrophic consequences. A severe pandemic, which becomes Event 201, would require reliable cooperation among several industries, national governments, and key international institutes. So it goes on to say the scenario, and we will I'm going to click on the scenario link here in a minute. Recommendations. The next severe pandemic will not only cause great illness and loss of life, but could also trigger major cascading economic and societal consequences that could contribute greatly to global impact and suffering. The Event 201 pandemic exercise conducted on October 18th, 2019, vividly demonstrated a number of these important gaps in pandemic preparedness, as well as some of the elements of the solutions between the public and private sectors that will be needed to fill them. It goes on to say the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, World Economic Forum, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation jointly proposed these recommendations, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. When and where? This was Friday, October 18, 2019, 8:45 to 12:30 p.m. At the Pierre Hotel, New York, New York. The audience was an invitation-only audience of nearly 130 people attended the exercise, and a live stream of the event was available to everyone. I didn't hear about that, did you? Then it talks about the exercise team. Again, I'll leave the link to all of this in the description. Anyway, so I got to click on this other link here. Scenario. This is what I really want you to hear. The Scenario 201 scenario. The Event 201 scenario. Event 201 simulates an outbreak of a novel zoonotic coronavirus transmitted from bats. Oh yes, folks. I just said from bats to pigs to people, that eventually becomes efficiently transmissible from person to person, leading to a severe pandemic. The pathogen and the disease it causes are modeled largely on SARS, but it is more transmissible in the community setting by people with mild symptoms. Anyway, the disease starts in pig farms in Brazil, quietly and slowly at first, but then it starts to spread more rapidly in healthcare settings. When it starts to spread efficiently from person to person in the low-income, densely packed neighborhoods of some of the megacities in South America, the epidemic explodes. It is first exported by air travel to Portugal, the United States, and China, and then to many other countries. Although at first some countries are able to control it, it continues to spread and to be reintroduced, and eventually no country can maintain control. There is no possibility of a vaccine being available in the first year. There is a fictional antiviral drug that can help the sick but not significantly limit spread of the disease. Since the whole human population is susceptible during the initial months of the pandemic, the cumulative number of cases increases exponentially, doubling every week, and as the cases and deaths accumulate, the economic and societal consequences become increasingly severe. The scenario ends, check this out, folks, the scenario ends at the 18-month point with 65 million deaths. The pandemic is beginning to slow due to decreasing numbers of susceptible people. The pandemic will continue at some rate until there is an effective vaccine or until 80 to 90% of the global population has been exposed. From that point on, it is likely to be an endemic childhood disease. Well, folks, does that sound familiar? Does this virus sound familiar? All right, I want to outline another page on here, and that is recommendations. I'm not going to go through the recommendations, but they have recommendations, folks, and as you would probably guess, it's about global vaccines. So there'll probably be mandatory vaccines at some point after this pandemic. This what we have going on right now. And of course, Bill and Melinda Gates are right in the forefront of all of this. And then the other thing that I want to outline also is this is bringing the world together as a global entity. We've been talking about the one world government, and if this would cause an economic crash globally, we're talking about a one world currency. And folks, we are living in evil, evil times right now. And I believe that we are living in end times, biblical, prophetical end times unfolding before our very eyes right now. And so, the scary part is that there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering out there in the coming years. But the good part is that, we've read the end of the book. We know how it ends, and the good guys win. But it's just good to know, to be prepared, what we might encounter in the coming years. And, as Paul would say, brethren, I would not have you ignorant on what we are to encounter and what we are going to be facing and who we are fighting. Anyway, folks, I will keep you abreast of what's going on to the best of my ability. I will be reporting more often. I think it's important.